Okay, this is the first of two lectures for this week. This one is on intertextuality. And so, what is intertextuality? Well, it all starts with a woman named Julia Kristeva, and she is a literary critic, meaning she does analyses of literature. She's a philosopher, feminist, psychoanalyst, licensed psychoanalyst, and a novelist. And she was mentored, inspired when she moved to France to study under some really famous philosophers. And so when we see her background, she was born in Bulgaria. She studied at the University of Sofia in Bulgaria. Then she moved to France, married a Frenchman, and gained citizenship there. But this upbringing of mixing Bulgarian culture and the Eastern aspect, for example, Byzantine Empire, the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, Greece, that she had close access to that was an important aspect to her upbringing. Then, when she moved to France, she came into contact a lot with the Western world. And so between that, it led her into a lot of different directions, and which finally culminated in her coming to this idea of intertextuality. And so what is intertextuality? So I've defined it here. All works of literature, art, are shaped in relationship to one another. In other words, do we see one text within another text? This is often shown through reference to other works. So, for example, if I give a speech and I say, I'm no Billy D. Williams. You have to already know who Billy D. Williams is, but when you do, if you do already know who Billy D. Williams is, then it right away clicks and you can enjoy a certain amount of humor out of it. Or if in passing I were to make a reference to those three girls look like Sabrina, Kelly, and Jill. Well, people who are familiar with Charlie's Angels would know who I was referring to and would immediately get it. But you have to know both texts in order to see the intertext. So it's a work that references another work, shows a relationship to another work. Here it can also just be an artist's style imitating or reminding you of someone else's writing style. Anytime that you are reminded of another piece of literature, philosophy, psychology, art, music, poems, whatever it may be, if you look at something, you read it, you watch it, and it reminds you or calls back another piece of work, then that is what intertextuality is. We say where a text alludes to or references another text is intertextuality. Kristeva posits that every text, and we can insert any cultural object, an image, a photograph, a film, web content, music, again, any type of cultural object, is a mosaic of references to other texts. In other words, she's somehow saying that nothing's original, but other people say that in different ways. She's just saying it's not that we're not original because we're able to have new thoughts and new ways of looking at things, but we still have a background that we bring to the table. A really good example is Wicked, the novel and the Broadway play. When you go and see it, or if you read the novel, if you don't know the background of Wizard of Oz, it can still make sense. You can still read it and enjoy it, but it brings something different to the table if you know the Wizard of Oz. and it's retelling the story in a different way, but at the same time, when it mentions the Good Witch of the North, or Toto, or any of these characters that a lot of people in the U.S. have grown up with and know, then we right away can put things together and piece things together with the author without the author having to walk us through a lot of steps. And so sometimes it can be used as a shortcut. But again, in Wicked, you're constantly aware of the Wonderful Wizard of Oz story in the back of your mind, and that's the intertext. Some texts completely refer directly to their intertext, such as remakes or reboots, as they're called now. Sequels often do that. References to the media in The Simpsons, for example. Those all are intertext. But again, you have to have the prior knowledge of the other text. If I start telling you a story and I use a French novel as my basis, if you've not read that French novel, you're just going to listen to my story and base it just on that. But if I tell you something based on a novel that you already read and know, then I could just mention a name, and then the qualities of that person spring into your mind, and I can just then go on from there into some other direction. Okay, we're going to watch an example pretty quickly of an excerpt from Friends that shows intertextuality.
I know what you're thinking. Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's.
I'm Gail.
Chandler.
I really have to be somewhere, but it was nice meeting you.
What? Oh, this is excellent. He could have got me a VCR, he could have got me a set of golf clubs, but no, he has to get me the woman repeller. The eyesore from the Liberace House of Crap.
Not that bad.
Oh, yeah, easy for you to say. You don't have to walk around sporting some reject from the Mr. T collection.
Chandler.
I pity the fool who puts on my jewelry. I do. I pity the fool that... All right. Hey, man, we were just doing some impressions over here. Do your Marcel Marceau. That's actually good.
And so, as I stated here, the humor works its way in if you know who Liberace is, if you know who Mr. T is, and if you know who Marcel Marceau is. If you don't know any of those three people, it was not as funny other than you hear the laugh track in the background. But if you know Mr. T and the way he speaks and his whole shtick, then you get the reference, and it's humorous because he's comparing himself to Mr. T. Same thing with Liberace and Marcel Marceau, the French mime. Okay, this is the end of the first lecture. We'll be starting up again with the next one.